Thank you for joining the second session of the Spring 2024 RIEEE webinar series. My name is Grace Plummer. I'm the Interim Managing Director of the Institute. We call RIEEE is the Research Institute for Environment, Energy, and Economics. And generally, our webinars are focused around like existing and emerging research strengths at Appalachian that align with the Institute mission. And they help us build capacity for sustainability research and impact by coalescing conversations and catalyzing collaborations, things of that sort. So this is the second of two sessions that we put together this spring, and with the theme kind of focusing on the context. So our institutional, local, and regional context in which we're conducting research and oftentimes translating findings and hoping to achieve local impact. So this session will provide an overview of the economic and workforce development priorities for the region, but while trying to focus on RIEEE mission-aligned topic areas where possible. So today we have two App State grads with us, actually. The Boone Area Chamber of Commerce, represented by David Jackson, and the High Country Council of Governments, represented by Misty Bishop-Price. So they'll each give a presentation here in a bit, and then there'll be time for discussion afterward. Thank you, David and Misty, for making time and being here today. We really appreciate your engagement. So we'll start with Misty Bishop-Price is the Workforce Development Director at the High Country Council of Governments. The High Country Council of Government serves the 7-county region, and Misty has been with the COG for nearly 23 years and works with various partners across the region to enhance workforce development services and oversees the local NC Works career centers. David Jackson is the president and CEO of the Boone Chamber of Commerce. And in that role, he's been recognized by the NC Main Street and Rural Planning Center and serves on various boards and committees, including the Watauga County Economic Development Commission. Before joining the chamber, David served as Associate Athletic Director here at App State and was twice named NC Sportscaster of the Year by the National Sports Media Association for his work as radio play-by-play announcer for several athletic programs. So again, thank you, David and Misty, for joining us. And I'll go ahead and queue up your slide, Misty, and we'll get started.
Okay, thank you. So I'm with the High Country Council of Governments, and we have several departments at the COG. We have our workforce department, and we have our aging department, the AAA Area Agency on Aging. We also have our planning department, which does a lot of work with our regions, our counties on planning grants for infrastructure, water, sewer, and that kind of thing. But today I'm going to focus on the workforce development aspect of it. If you can back those slides up a couple. So we do serve 7 counties of the High Country, and you can see those 7 counties there, and we are part of the Northwest Prosperity Zone. On the next slide, it shows the map of North Carolina and how our High Country Workforce Development Boards, how the boards across North Carolina are broken down. There's currently 20 workforce boards across North Carolina, and those 20 boards are all set up a little bit differently. They have different funding areas. All boards receive funding from the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, but then they also have the opportunity to go after other funding. And based on how they're set up, they could be overseen by a city or a county or part of a COG. And there are some boards who are independently operated as well. The next slide was just an overview of the High Country region, and it kind of shows our industry sectors for our 7 counties and what that looks like. So our top sector in the High Country is healthcare and social assistance, followed by our retail and accommodation, falling into that tourism sector, then education and manufacturing. Through our funds that we received, some of our top training programs that we assist our customers with, healthcare, CDL training, those are kind of our 2 top target sectors that we are assisting with right now with our funding lines. Next slide, please. So this is just an overview of our main funding stream, and it comes through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. It's currently being looked at for reauthorization under the Stronger Workforce for America's Act. I don't know if you guys are familiar with any of that legislation. So you may be hearing some of that coming through the news right now. Virginia Fox is the chair of that workforce committee. And so a lot of those changes are coming through that committee. So currently, through this legislation, our funding is geared toward providing assistance to job seekers and employers. And our board, which is the majority private sector, oversees our career centers and our service providers to operate our programs through our NC Works Career Centers. And you can see who our current providers are in our region. We contract with Goodwill and Mayland to operate our services through our NC Works Career Centers. And we also partner with a variety of partners throughout the region to provide that comprehensive services to our customers. And we also have funding streams for youth, adults, and dislocated workers and employers. Next slide, please. A big part of our focus, one of our priorities, is on skills and credentials. So through part of our funding, we're allowed to offer scholarships to our customers. And our scholarships can help with tuition, some of those supportive services that customers often struggle with. If their tuition may be covered through FAFSA, they may not be able to afford those exams or those wraparound services of the scrubs, the shoes, and all the stuff that really adds up quickly that our customers struggle with. So we do try to help meet those needs of our customers. And we do focus on short-term credentials and 2-year credentials. We do have some customers in 4-year programs that we've helped with, but it is primarily short-term 2-year credentials. We are a partner of the My Future NC initiative, and a lot of our credentials will fall under that initiative to help support that goal for North Carolina. And some of the things we offer through our career centers that keep our staff really busy, we try to connect job seekers to our employers. We're engaged in lots of community activities and events. Our centers host a variety of job fairs. They're out in our school systems partnering and offering career fairs. So these are just a couple photos of some of those events of job fairs, employer tours, and so forth. We try really hard as staff to stay connected to some of those employer needs to make sure we're able to communicate that with our customers to make sure they get the best referrals and information in our centers. This is a list of some of our key services that we provide. We do have staff in our centers that are dedicated to employer services, and we do have special populations that we try to reach out to. We have a staff person that tries to do some work specifically with veterans. We have youth specialists. We have a couple staff people that focus on reentry and so forth. That's okay, you can go through. These are just a couple steps of events that we've had recently. These are some of our postings from Facebook of our job fairs, just examples to show you some of the employers that we're working with. You can follow our Facebook pages if you haven't done that and see just some of the activities we're engaged in. We try to post job openings on our Facebook page, but that's primarily done through our online system on ncworks.gov. So work-based learning is a huge focus for us right now. And through our work-based learning, we've also gotten a special grant with some ARPA funds that we've seen a lot of success with, but we have seen work-based learning opportunities for our customers seem to have the most impact right now. Our customers, our youth and adults, are being exposed to different employers, learning lots of skills, and we have a couple different ways that we do work-based learning. Our main two are work experience and on-the-job training. And so when we have customers that are looking for that type of activity, we try to find an employer or a work site that they're interested in, and then lay out some skills, training plan, just to make sure that it's a productive experience for them. For work experience, it's kind of like an internship that most people are familiar with. Our program pays those wages for our interns, so we try to establish a wage comparable to that position, and then set up that short-term contract with a work site. With our on-the-job training, those are funds that we reimburse directly to an employer, and that helps pay for the training, that training time, that extra time that employers have to dedicate to those new hires. And we have seen great success with our employers. Our employers find that very helpful, and it helps reduce that training cost for them. So that's a big component that we're really focused on right now with especially our small employers. Our special grant that we have is dedicated to small employers right now. And the next couple of slides are just some pictures of successes that we like to share. These customers are all engaged in work-based learning opportunities. They have all done really well. You know, our goal at the end of the day is to make sure they have gained a meaningful experience, they've learned skills, they're better prepared for the workforce. And so that's what these slides are with some of our current work sites that we have. This is just another local employer that we've been working with an OJT customer. And so this slide is a customer that just really stands out to us. He was a young man that was a school dropout. Just an example of some of the folks that we serve in success stories. We assisted him with getting through his GED. He did that paid work-based learning opportunity. He did so well, the employer brought him on full time. And it's just a perfect example of a pathway that we do with our customers. We also nominated him last year for our Outstanding Young Adult North Carolina, and he was selected and recognized at our governor's conference in Greensboro, so we were super excited about that. But we do have a specialized focus on young adults, some of those opportunity youth that you hear about that aren't engaged in education or employment, or that have barriers to employment. So I just wanted to highlight him because he's a really great kid. We are super proud to have that opportunity. And the next slide. And that's just some contact information for our staff at our career centers and our Facebook pages if you have an opportunity to share or like those pages, just to see some information that we're engaged in. A couple other priorities that we have right now, I mentioned work-based learning as one of those. We are seeing a lot of success. We also have a small grant to focus on serving those in recovery. So we're doing some work with community partners, with referrals with them. We've got some special funds to help provide support services to meet some of those needs and barriers that we're seeing, just to try to help them be successful in engaging back in that workforce, getting some additional training, and being productive employees. Any questions about any of that? I know that was really fast.
Sure. Thank you, Misty. And yeah, if there's a quick question for Misty in between, we will have some time after David speaks for discussion. But if anyone had a burning question right now, feel free to go ahead. Okay, I'll turn it over to you, David.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I can't thank Misty enough for the work of the High Country Workforce Development Board and a partner organization of ours. We're all working together on getting things planned for Vision Northwest North Carolina here in a little over a month. And Misty's always a great resource for that. But I think it speaks to something similar that you all see on campus is the touch points and partnerships that are out there. There is no one agency externally to campus that can do all of the work that needs to be done to align workforce priorities and help a community grow and prosper. So it takes a lot of of cross-sector alignment in different areas, right? You're going to get exposed to different aspects of the workforce depending on what that touch point happens to be. So in addition to the Workforce Development Board, we work a lot with SBTDC, which is a campus resource, of course. We've been excited to see Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute add a Watauga County business liaison to our area here within the last few months. That means now that the Small Business Center for Caldwell Community College has an on-site in Watauga County rep to help those small businesses that are just getting started fundamentally with their entrepreneurial dreams, and in many cases don't even have their business formalized. And now we have an on property, if you will, representative is that person is housed inside the Boone area chamber office. Mountain BizWorks and Startup High Country are also touch points that are outside of what I'd call governmental or quasi-governmental realms, but do find people in various stages of their business journey. So I think it's important that we all work together, and certainly the Entrepreneurship Center on campus has been a big part of that, Career Development Center, and countless other areas that we all talk regularly to try to make sure that we're focused and serving the needs that are out there. So I'll give you a little bit of background on the chamber, and I don't have a fancy slide presentation for you today. I'm just going to kind of speak from the cuff and see what we can answer for you in terms of some of our work right now. But just to kind of give you an update on where things are with our organization. So Boone Area Chamber of Commerce is celebrating its 75th year this year. We've been around since 1949. It's actually started by some folks that were also very instrumental in starting what we now know as the business district of the town of Boone, and many of those, like Alfred Adams, had deep App State ties as well. So we have seen our town and campus community grow symbiotically over the last century, and a lot of our organization's roots are traced back to some of those same campus roots as well. On and off through that 75 years, the chamber has taken different roles as it relates to economic development. Most recently, about a year and 4 months ago, the chamber entered into a contract with Watauga County to take over the administrative support for the Watauga County Economic Development Commission. That commission is a county-appointed board, which includes all 5 municipalities in Watauga County. So that's Boone, Blowing Rock, Seven Devils, Beach Mountain, and then the county's got a representative to that as well. App State's got a seat on that board. Matthew Dockham fills that role for the university. Charles Harden and myself each have seats on that board as representatives of the 2 chambers of commerce. And then the county appoints 3 at-large members to that board that are made up of county residents in different areas that hopefully give us a good 11-person snapshot of what economic conditions look like across different workforce sectors, different areas of the community. As you all know, one side of Watauga County can be different than the other, and we wanted to make sure that we get a good cross-section of everything. So that board meets monthly and is charged with executing the workforce goal, or the economic development goals of Watauga County, and the chamber serves as that organization's staff. So many of you have met Joe Furman over the years. Joe is the longtime planning and inspections director for Watauga County. He didn't actually map Watauga County from the start, but he was awfully close. I kid him about that all the time. Joe was also in charge of economic development for Watauga County for the better part of 20 years. And so he recently retired a year and 4 months ago. He retired from the county. We were able to formalize this EDC relationship and bring Joe to the chamber as a part-time employee to continue that work and to help us establish an economic development organization that we will eventually go and hire a full-time director for. But for now, before he goes fishing for good, Joe is helping us in that capacity. So that's allowed for a lot of institutional knowledge of how things have transpired the way they have. Joe was involved in the creation of the Watauga County Industrial Park. He's been instrumental in helping businesses like ECRS grow and expand here. And as we know that there are recruitment challenges from not only a labor but a cost perspective, it's been as important for the EDC over the years to maintain what we have here as much as, and in some cases more so than, trying to recruit business to our community. We don't feel like it's a very genuine conversation to have with someone right now, given our housing landscape and childcare landscape, to say, bring your 100-person business to Watauga County, we'll figure it out. We know that we've got some growth challenges that we have to address as a community, and that's just not the right place to be right now. So the EDC's focus on business development has really been in smaller imprint businesses or growing existing businesses to maybe get into new areas of focus. I would point back to ECRS in that way. They've grown quite a bit here since Pete started the company back years ago. Suga is another company that we've worked quite a bit with, and they're growing their own product line now that's a high-end outdoor hiking, climbing gear type manufacturer. So it imprints well with our area from a lifestyle perspective, but there's also a great pipeline of employees that come from App State in helping with research and development of those products. So a number of the businesses that we do see growing and are helping to keep here as they expand are utilizing the university's resources in doing so, whether that's labor, faculty consultation, folks like Eric Schlinker coming in and just kind of being a good sounding board to talk through the next steps. I don't think that we would see the robust business scene that we have here without the university's influence, and we try to say that as much and as loudly as we can. Some priorities that the group is working on now. So back shortly after we reestablished this relationship, we had a day-long retreat and established what the county's priorities for economic development are currently. And as you would imagine, I could probably give you a quiz without giving you the answers, and you would all get 100 on knowing that housing, childcare, workforce development, and infrastructure are the top 4 priorities of the EDC right now. And the vast majority of that work has come in the housing and childcare area. I see Pilar on the call here. Pilar has been a great partner in a lot of our childcare conversation here of late, and working from a HR perspective, understanding that the university is attracting talent, as are many businesses in the area, and there's a lot of opportunity for I'll call it coordinated conversation about what things we need to have grow the opportunities for us to legitimately bring people here, and what questions they're asking of HR folks and the people that are trying to hire them. What are the popular questions that we need to make sure we have good answers to when it comes to recruiting talent? So we appreciate Pilar for that. One thing that she's been very involved in, and we've just released here recently, I wanted to share a few bullet points on during my time here, is the Watauga County Child Care Survey. This study came out a little over a week ago, and I've been told by some people, well, I don't have a kid, this doesn't matter to me. Well, if you work with somebody that has a child, it absolutely matters to you what childcare availability looks like in Watauga County, both from an accessibility and affordability standpoint. Because many times those are the people that are covering for folks that are having to get real creative with how their childcare solutions are navigated through snow days, sick days. I'll call them Watauga County days, where we sometimes have disruptions, right? So we needed to find some more fresh data and data sets that maybe we didn't have before that we could utilize in making the argument for strengthening access and affordability of childcare. So a couple of things that stand out. I'll tell you that the full report is available at our website, boonechamber.com. It's a 51-page document with lots of pictures, slides, and graphs in it. So it's definitely something that will keep your interest. There's also a 4-page executive summary on the website as well. And you can find some more distilled information there. Some of the high points from the study, though, about 700 touch points through surveys, one-on-one interviews or focus groups went into the creation of this survey, and they uncovered a few things that you would say, yeah, that sounds about right, and a few things that were a little bit eye-popping even to us. A couple of examples: 2022 population of Watauga County was at about 54,700 folks. There is a number that needs some context. There are 9,000 new residents in our county annually. Now, that is not a net number, even though sometimes it feels like that. What that shows you, though, is the influx of new students to App State, some of our employers that are attracting, I'll call it seasonal employees or folks that are maybe up here for a year or two. Grad students certainly fall into that category. And then whatever else happens to come into our area. Now, there's also a decrease in population as well, but that 9,000 number shows that there are 9,000 new people that come in looking for services. Some of them, vast majority of them, probably don't need them. The 18-year-old college student likely is not looking for things beyond what campus is able to provide in terms of resources. But we do know that as families are moving in to work for Samaritan's Purse or Appalachian State or any of our other large employers, they are seeking things like, where are schools located? What childcare options are available? And those are important services to be able to communicate to them. Unfortunately, the answers haven't always been great, right? So we know from a workforce participation perspective that there is a troublesome, I'll call it, point in the workforce platform, and that is females with one child under the age of 6 and at least one child between ages 6 and 17. So some of you maybe have had to do the 2-kid hustle, after school programs in different spots. You know, one's in school, one's in pre-K. That means a lot of driving around, right? And that we see a major drop off in workforce participation. So the average for females workforce participation is 72.6%. That group that I just mentioned goes down to 67.4%. So you're seeing people that have to juggle dropping out of the workforce. And so part of the idea behind this study was to examine, how could you pull people back in? What are those barriers? Is that 2-person shuffle really more reflective of how much childcare costs? And some of those, I'll call it, barriers related to transportation or some of the hustle aspects of things, right? So we looked at that pretty in depth in this study and found that the number of folks that have self-identified as wanting to come back into the labor force if they had affordable and available childcare was around 300. And that's a formula-driven number based on actual data that was collected here in Watauga County. 300 doesn't seem like a lot when you think about 22,000 students, when you think about, you know, the county population at 57,000, 300 people, what's 300 people, right? Unless you put that in the context of the average business size or the large business sizes here in Watauga County. So if you put 300 people under one roof, that would become the 6th largest business in our county based on total size of employee count. So what we're talking about is the relocation of a large business without having to worry about the relocation cost, right? There's no moving, there's no housing crunch, there's no nothing other than just getting people that already live here in Watauga County and want to work here into the labor force. To get that, and I'm sorry, I have a motion sensor light that does not like where I sit. So if I lean back, sometimes it comes back on, but otherwise you might have to just deal with my darkness here. To get those 300 folks back in the workforce, the gaps that were identified in the study show 579 needed seats in the birth to 5-year range. And the number that jumps out on the after school side is 1,672 slots for after school care. There are about 4% of Watauga County middle school students that are participating in some sort of athletic activity after school. There is a high percentage of students that leave their middle school in Watauga County schools and just go home to no one. No engagement, no programs. They sit in front of the TV or whatever they happen to do. They are just not engaged in anything programmatic. So there is an opportunity there to support some services that are ongoing in the community, to maybe bring some things back that were around back during the COVID times, and certainly look at new ways to keep those folks moving in the right direction. And a lot of that centers back around, how can we use that age range for some workforce identification, right? If some of those after school programs were educationally based and they're feeding into some of the things that Misty was talking about from a career identification perspective, now we're using our time wisely. And we're hopefully seeding our next generation of workforce with experiences that they've had already. So a lot of conversation going on with Watauga County Schools, the university, CCC and TI, and other partners to see what what that looks like. What programmatically could we add to the mix to make sure that time like that is spent in a positive way. On the birth to 5 year spot, you all know well, I'm sure this group is well versed in the importance of quality childcare from 0 to 3 in terms of brain development and what we know is the investment in our future workforce by paying particular attention during that time, making sure kids are ready for kindergarten. That leads to higher scholastic aptitude. That leads to greater potential for career earnings. That leads to more students coming to you. The opportunity for people that are seeking some sort of post-secondary degree is higher if they have a better start. So we know that return on investment based on the report findings here is from 7 to 13%, and the folks that did the study feel like that's a light number. And there have been higher percentages touted by U.S. government officials here just within the last few days, as a matter of fact. So bottom line here is that we have work to do as a community to bolster our child care setting. The good news is that in the list of priorities that the focus group or the research group shared with us, we have roughly 28 points that were given to us as points for improvement, and we are significantly down the road on several of those. Thanks again to that cross-sector partnership that I was talking about. The Children's Council of Watauga County is instrumental in a lot of that work. And then finding places like Kid Cove. Some of you may know Haley Hartley, one of the great models for early childhood development in the state. She is sought out by state partners frequently about what she does to maintain workforce. She's actually grown her business model quite a bit here in the last year with partnerships and business opportunity. And we know that it's going to take private providers just as much as it will take the university's investment in early childhood over the course of the last few years and getting more seats available for folks. And this study helped identify what those priorities are for parents when they want to place their children. The first thing you do, right? You've all kind of gone through this. The first thing you do is try to get on campus. When you figure out you can't get on campus, it's wait list anywhere that you can find a wait list. And there's a story in this report about a family that got on a wait list at every available private childcare facility in town when they were 8 weeks pregnant. At 15 months of the child was 15 months old when they finally got the call that they had childcare available to them. So that's more than a year of that child's life that certainly we'd love to spend as much time around our kids as we can, but we know that financially the reality of that in Watauga County is most parents have to go back to work. That's a 15-month-old that saw that parent and that family juggling through the process of hoping that they were making ends meet because of lack of available childcare. So this is a huge workforce challenge for us. And something that the EDC, the chamber, and like I said, many other partners are heavily invested in moving forward. I'll touch real briefly here on a couple of other priorities on the housing side. Certainly, the chamber and the EDC are dialed into the Watauga County Housing Council. I know Pilar is a part of that as well, and I would encourage you if you're looking for a place to plug in on the housing side of things, the Housing Council is a great spot to do that. One of your colleagues, Dr. Kelly Reed Ashcraft, is the organizer of that effort and has been since the Watauga County Housing Forums back a few years ago. And Kelly's done a wonderful job of keeping information flowing, looking at different aspects of the housing issue. It's not just about let's go build houses somewhere. It's what type of housing is most affordable, what partnerships there are to make it affordable in a community like ours, and then ultimately what are the benefits to the folks that need that housing. So she's working tirelessly on coordinating that effort. We've also been working with Kelly and partners at App Healthcare, mainly Lindsay Sullivan, and then Oasis. Kelly Bass has been a part of this, and Mackenzie Laney from Mediation and Restorative Justice Center. There has been a multi-group effort to create what is Stable Workplaces. And Stable Workplaces is a program that is designed specifically to enhance workplace culture and provide benefits to employees that will help with de-escalation of conflict, help some of the workforce challenges that we're seeing in a way that maybe can speak to long-term retention and recruitment strategies. So STABLE stands for Staff Training and Business Leadership for Evolving Workplaces. And this was born out of a focus group that App Healthcare hosted back about 2 years ago, almost now, that asked businesses, you're having retention problems. Why is that? What are your employees telling you? And a lot of those employees were saying, we don't feel supported. We don't feel like there's good HR policy at our places of business. We're not getting professionally educated. We're all front-facing customer service folks, and we've got a kind of a nasty underbelly of the post-COVID reality of people going back into storefronts and restaurants and being surly, not liking some of the mandates and taking that out on that workforce. So some people have asked why. Why are there no more waiters and waitresses at establishments, or why is it so hard to staff in the restaurant industry? And remember what some of those folks dealt with for the better part of 2 years in terms of interaction with a public that not everybody liked what they had to implement, right? So that led to some workforce decline, and STABLE was brought to kind of harness some of that energy and figure out, what can be done from the employer's perspective to create a supported environment that those employees feel like they are heard, that they've got opportunities to professionally advance, and would those employees then become more loyal to those employers for taking care of them and having their best professional interests in mind. We have found through that work, and Misty's been part of that too, we found that it's not always about salary. A lot of times it is about professional opportunities, flexibility around college schedule, or the extracurriculars that our younger kids are involved with, the work from home flexibility around childcare needs. So we've been working with Family Friendly NC or Family Forward NC to prioritize family friendly workplaces as part of this. And that's not just a STABLE thing. A number of us are working on that anyway. Because I think I'll close with this and saying that, for years we thought we understood why it was our workforce did what they did and responded the way they responded to the needs of the business, right? I think it's important to note that the pandemic had a lot to do with this, but time has had a lot to do with this too. The answers are different now. We cannot continue to think about staffing our businesses the way that we did when we were 18 years old. The things that my grocery store manager told me when I started bagging groceries at Winn-Dixie and Greensboro are much different than what employers are talking to their employees about today. We all know that as practitioners in this, and you all see that in your students, and their interaction with you is probably different than it used to be as well. If you just keep trying to hammer the square peg in the round hole, it's just not going to be beneficial for anyone. So I think the benefit to the cross-sector conversation has been different viewpoints and a willingness to change for the sake of moving our community forward in a respectful way, and also being respectful for the way and the challenges that today's younger workforce has dealt with. I teach as an adjunct on campus in the comm department. I teach public speaking, and I tell kids all the time that this group that I'm with, they were primarily going through 8th and 9th grade, I guess, during COVID. I'm like, you've got a badge of honor that'll never go away from you. The ingenuity and creativity that you had to, in some cases, create yourself is going to be something that every time somebody sees a date range on a resume, they're going to go, hey, you survived this. You made positive things happen there because of this challenge. I think that we've got to know that maybe the skill set of our employees is a little bit different, and we can play into that for the positive rather than trying to make them revert back to the way things were in 1999, which is certainly not the case anymore. So to summarize, that's kind of what the chamber does. We try to take pulse of a lot of these conversations, serve as a convener when we can, help try to bring some of the expert conversation around this and many other issues in the community, and work for the positive business development, but community development as well. Those two things are hand in hand, especially in a community like Watauga County, when everybody seems to know everybody, and success for our community is success for everybody. And we work daily to try to make that a priority. So again, like Misty said, happy to answer any questions, or we can talk a little bit with you now about some of the things that are on the radar and maybe some of the new opportunities that could be occurring, especially as it relates to relationship with campus entities as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, David, and thank you, Misty. I'm going to go ahead and close the webinar for recording purposes so we can get into some discussion and Q&A. Thanks for joining the second session of the RIEEE webinars for spring 2024.